I was able to go from a tier 9 vehicle to a tier 10 within 26 games, and today I'm going to showcase exactly how you too can use this, and of course showcase some of the gameplay as to how we managed to do it, and of course that's without using any of the free XP. So how did we exactly do this? Well, the predominant way is using the new operation that Wargaming released this week, which was the XP with interest, and you guys can use this right now as well, and it is super powerful for you to be able to get unbelievable amounts of XP, and there's a way you can exploit this to have unbelievable crazy amounts of XP. And how do you do that? Well, let's get straight into it. So the operation itself, XP with interest, earn 1000 or more XP in any number of battles, and once you complete that, once you get 1000 XP, you then get 150% XP boost. This is repeatable, and by being repeatable, it's also repeatable in one singular game. So, for example, if we go and get a gameplay that, we manage to get 1000 base XP, that's an okay game, or a decent game I should say, so you end up then getting 1000 XP, which means you get 50% more XP. But even better than that is that if you have premium time, you get 50% more XP, plus you're then getting 1500 XP, and so effectively you would be getting like 75% boost. Of course, it doesn't actually activate until you earn that extra XP to be able to go over that 1000 mark. So in addition to this, you then also have operations like the On Track to Italy, which give you 125% XP boost, so an extra 25%, so you can basically boost it up by 25%. So you combine that with the XP with interest. If you have 1000 damage game, or maybe even 1000 XP even, then you're able to get a 75% XP bonus. And then of course with premium time, you can get that even higher. And then if you then combine it with the most powerful thing that's going to be able to get you ridiculous amounts of XP, and I'll show you exactly what I mean by the results in just a second of how much exactly you can get. But you can see here, you'll see with the boosters, we have a ×5 XP booster applied. Now, why is that? Well, other than the fact of giving you 5 times XP boost, it also counts towards the XP that can be used for the XP with interest challenge. So you might be thinking, that doesn't sound particularly that balanced, because surely if you're getting, premium time and you've then timesed it by 5, the amount of XP that you're getting, you're going to be ending up with like, what, 8,000, 9,000 XP in one singular game. Well, yes. And what does that mean? Well, 9 lots of 1000 XP means that you're going to be able to complete this operation you're going to be able to complete it 9 times, which gives you 450% extra XP, which is 4.5 times XP. And what does that mean with regards to the XP that you can get in one singular game? Well, let's go over to the profile tab, let's have a look at the log, and you'll see that I played a few games yesterday in the WZ, and of course been able to get some crazy amounts of XP, and yes, 38,000 XP in one singular game. And of course, so it was a good game, granted. I mean, it was a very good game, 6,200 damage, and we'll have a look at the actual game in a minute as we go through this video. But it enabled us to then fully max out the vehicle and get the top tier tank, the tier 10. And yeah, 38,000 XP in one game. I mean, you could actually, using this method, go from tier 5 to tier 6 in one game. Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous. And when you consider that tanks, like the top tier vehicles in the game, the ones that you haven't already unlocked, going from a tier 9 to a tier 10 is about 300,000 XP. Which means if you could compile the amount of XP that you just saw there into those games, you'd be able to get a tier 10 from a tier 9 in about 10 games. And that's exactly how we managed to do it. Granted, we didn't have unbelievable games every single time, but if we go to the WZ, which is the tier 9, you'll see exactly how many games we did play, and yes, we're going lower and lower and lower and lower within this, not even 30 games played, and here we go, it should be coming up anytime soon, the WZ 111 GFT. Which is of course the tier 9, and you can see I played 26 battles. I didn't particularly play all too well. We only managed to get 2,800 damage per game, and we only managed to get 57% wins, which is a lot less than usual. I was really struggling with the Chinese tank destroyers. They just do seem to suck in comparison to some of the other ones. Maybe I was just having a bad day, but either way, 26 games and we managed to get a tier 10. Yeah, that is how powerful this operation and using your XP boosters, and even if you don't have times 5 XP boosters, which I'm sure a lot of you don't, then you're able to use, 2 times, which you can get from the season, and obviously throughout some of the rewards, you're also rewarded with XP boosters, so now is the time to use all of your XP boosters if you've got them available, if you've been saving them up. Get them on your account, and let's have a look at some of the gameplay as to how you can boost up your core actual XP within the game to get even more XP, and let's jump over to that replay in a second. So we start partially into this game, as this tank isn't particularly the fastest, and it's not really about the tank, the WZ111 GFT, it's about how you can use tanks even like this one, which aren't particularly great and are harder to get XP than in a lot of some of the other more broken and lower tier vehicles that you can have in the game, since they are typically played a lot worse by newer players, and therefore the XP requirement or the damage and spotting requirements to be able to get more XP are lower, and often they can be abused a lot more by using things like equipment, whereas at this tier pretty much everyone has equipment, pretty much everyone has crews and stuff like that, so it doesn't really impact your game, and therefore you have to perform better in every game rather than have a better tank than everyone else. But either way, the WZ111 1GFT, what is this all about? Well, it's a Chinese tank destroyer. You use it as primarily having a big alpha damage, or at least if you have unlocked the full gun. Now, it took me ages to fully unlock it because it takes like 100,000 XP to be able to get the tank fully upgraded, but once it is fully upgraded, it's a ton better, and it is really enjoyable after you do, because you got that 750 alpha. But knowing that the tank isn't that great, how do you kind of overcome that to be able to get more XP? Well, number one, you've got taking enemies out of the game, and if you can take some tanks out of the game, if you can get more enemies destroyed, then you're going to be able to increase how much XP you get. The more enemies you take out in a game, the more XP you get, and it's actually one of the easiest ways you can get more XP without having to do any more damage or any more assistance. And if you actually get a kill, then you're going to be able to increase your XP more than if you just got one penetrating shot in probably 90% of this scenario. So yeah, I mean, getting a kill or kill stealing, I guess, within the game is potentially an option, but either way, it is definitely something that you should be aware of if you are interested in doing some more XP within every single one of your games, and of course having better games. But then not only that, there are a few other things that you can use to your advantage as well, and that comes in the form of damage. So how can you play in a game to get more XP? Well, it's difficult. You have to play better, obviously. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to work that one out. The better you have of a game, the more XP you're going to get. But in order to get more XP consistently, you want to be surviving for as long as possible. And no, that doesn't mean camping at the back, because you're not going to be able to do any damage or get any assistance from a position in the back. But it just means that you have to be a little bit more kind of wary of what you're doing. You definitely don't want to be YOLOing through the middle of the map, and especially if you're using XP boosters that will be applied every single time that you play a game, because you don't want to be losing them to a game where you have a terrible one. So you want to be focusing and making sure that you're using your XP boosters on tanks that are the best, or maybe not even the best, because it's one of those things. Do you want to grind through the worst tanks that you have super fast, or do you want to use it on a tank to get even more XP every single game and play it less? I mean, it's down to you. For me, I use it on all of the tanks that I find to struggle with the most, since I don't want to be playing with the tanks that kind of suck for that long. So, what have I done in this game to get more XP? As you'll see, I've had a terrible game. I have literally done no damage in the beginning of the game. We've bounced off of the T125, who I was kind of thinking about just shooting as soon as I came around the corner and then pulling back, and I ended up fully aiming, and of course it didn't manage to pen. Don't worry, CC RNG is a thing, but either way, we hit the T125 not fully aimed and managed to pen, and exactly, we now know that there is the E5, there is an FE215B, which are both tier 10s, and that leads into the next point about this game, is that if you're dealing damage to higher tier vehicles than they are to you, then you are able to get more XP. It's a fact. If you are playing in a tier 6 vehicle and you're coming up against tier 8s and you're dealing damage to tier 8s, you're going to be able to get more XP than if you were to deal damage to, for example, a tier 4 vehicle. And that means you can have some pretty disgusting games if you are bottom tier, which is counterintuitive. You just have to play very well in those games, and if you can just have one amazing game in a tier 8, if you're in a tier 10 game, then yeah, you can end up with, you know, 38,000 XP, or maybe even way more than that if you do have a brilliant game. Now, that is really down to how well you play in the game. If you are a more average player, then you're not going to be able to get as much XP, but you can still have ridiculous XP, and it doesn't make that much of a difference. You know, you may lose out on 10,000 XP if you are slightly worse than some of the best players in the game, which is quite a bit in just one game, but at the same time you're still earning 30,000 XP in your game, or 20,000 XP quite consistently. So that's really where it comes down to with playing in those bottom tier games. So it's actually one of those things where myself personally, I'm like, oh yes, I'm in a bottom tier game, I'm going to be able to get more XP if I just stay consistent. And in order to stay consistent, like I said, it's about surviving, but also knowing that sometimes you have to do something, because if you don't do something like you're seeing in this game, we may not be able to do anything, and therefore we're not going to end up with a good result. Now, so far we've picked up 2,760 damage, and our team are reluctant to move or do anything, and I mean, I'm adding to that, but at some point during this replay we do something pretty awesome. We managed to pull it back, and that's how we ended up with XP, and that's why I wanted to showcase it to you, because right now we've probably got a decent amount of XP. I could leave this game and we probably would have got about 15,000 XP if we won the game, but if we lost the game you get significantly less. So you really want to focus on trying to get as many wins as possible, because you get an extra XP bonus that you don't get when you lose the game. I mean, you guys already know that if you've seen the XP on both teams, unless of course you have like a unbelievably disgusting game where you somehow manage to deal like 3 times the damage of the enemy team's top tier player. You may still be able to come above as top on XP, but yeah, that's coming down to a case of like if you were to get like 10k damage in a tier 10 game and still lose, as opposed to, you know, actually being able to just win the game with like 4,000 damage or something like that. But either way, I'm now starting to move, because of course sitting back and resting on your laurels is good, but not when you're trying to get XP and not when you want fast games, because at this point I'm thinking I just want to get as many games done within an hour so I can get as much XP in 1 hour as I can, so I can grind through all of the last remaining World War II tech tree tanks that I don't yet have, and that's exactly what we've been focusing on in this last week, and hopefully you guys do as well. There's still 4.5 days left as if you're watching this as of when it goes live. So yeah, it's super important that you guys get involved and you do start making some head rows or making an effort to try and get that XP, as I'm sure you're aware. Because it will save you so much time in the long run, and yeah, just picking a tank that you find awful, it's one of the nicest things, and being able to do it, you know, 3 or 4 or even up to 10 times faster if you have a really good game with the XP with interest operation. That's the sort of bonus XP you can get in one game compared to the base XP that you would get if you didn't have any boosters and there was no challenge. So yeah, either way, you can see here up against the E5, if we can remove him, fantastic. And because I'm using a high alpha tank destroyer with 750, we're able to remove a lot of low health tanks, which gives us more XP, and it's how I've been able to increase the amount of XP that we're getting consistently throughout the games. But we are on a bit of a limb here. There's not really any team support to a degree, and so I have to be a little bit careful. Now the Leopard 1 does get spotted, and that means that he is on full health pretty much. There's taken like, what, 1 shot? And that's kind of risky. We don't really want to be getting hit by him, but luckily our teammates managed to find a few shells on him, and that allows us to now be able to one-shot him if we can. Now we're going after him. I just want to shut him down. We're going to aim at the turret. And yeah, it goes into the upper plate. Fantastic. And we low roll by a ton, meaning that we didn't actually finish him off. Brilliant, thank you. I love the RNG right now. But don't worry, we'll get him with the second shell. Uh-oh, we hit the gun of the Leopard 1. Yay. Fantastic. Can't wait to see what artillery has in store for me. And unfortunately for the Leopard 1, we're using the armor to be able to bounce around and then just try and get that last shot. We're not going to make the same mistake of just aiming at the turret this time, since he exposes his hull armor and we're able to get the gun depression to take him out. But I'm conscious of the artillery. You can see that the first round that he fired was actually an AP round, and yeah, you don't want to be getting hit by an AP round from an arty, especially not when you're in this giant box tank that I'm in. But either way, we've picked up 4,600 damage, and we've also taken out 4 tanks, so you'd probably expect about 1,800 base XP, which is fantastic, and you know, you'd be very, very happy with how it's gone. But of course, we want to make sure that we're winning the game and winning it before 4 minutes, so it doesn't come down to the wire, and also making sure that we do as much damage as possible to increase it at the end. If it means, you know, you lose a little bit of hit points at the end of the game because you were trying to get more damage or trying to spot, it is entirely worth it if you were going to end up with a draw, or if you are kind of at the late stages of the game. If you can get extra XP, you should 100% try and go for it, even if it means you get taken out, because it's way better to have more damage and get that extra XP than it will be to, you know, conserve those hit points and increase the damage core/receive ratio, which is what some of the players will do in the game. But either way, we finish off the Turan. Fantastic to be able to hit that shot, and then we're trying to get a shot on the SU-130 PM. Oh, I was thinking that you can get a shot down the alley from here as they cross, but I realised that no, I'm in the wrong spot. It's actually over to the right, which you can do that, so I decide I'm going to move. Exactly what you want to be doing. You know, sometimes you can be lazy in the game, and if you're lazy, you're not going to get rewarded, so, you know, I've been definitely an advocate for being lazy in World of Tanks in the last few kind of days that I've just been kind of casually playing, and yeah, you end up getting far less of the decent results as you would have done if you move around. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to work that one out, but either way, we're now pushing forward, and of course now trying to find if we can see another vehicle before this game ends up. And since we've taken out 6 enemy tanks and we've got the Top Gun medal, we'll get even more XP, and with 5,833 damage, it's even better. So yeah, we're going to have a decent amount of XP, and I'm hoping it within the game that we would have ended up with, like, you know, 25,000, something in that region. It was, to my surprise, how much we actually ended up making. And this is why these operations are like super valuable. I'd 100% jump on and use your ×3s or ×2s or ×4s or whatever the maximum XP bonus you have, and therefore you can get away with having games that are just unbelievable. And of course, focusing on trying to increase your damage, your spotting, and of course how many enemies you're detecting, as many medals as you can get. And if you can get a result with like 2,029 base experience, which is easier at lower tiers, you can end up with results with 38,000 XP, and also picking up a decent chunk of silver, since we had ×2 silver boosts on as well, just to make a little bit of money and not lose everything I own again in the game. But hopefully this video gave you an indication as to the actual kind of way in which you get the XP bonuses and then the best ways to maximize them within the game, and hopefully you took something valuable from that. But if you have got any other questions, let me know in the comment section down below, and of course if you want me to do a video on something else or something similar, let me know as well. Maybe some tips videos coming soon as well. So thank you very much for watching, and don't forget to check out the community post where we're doing a giveaway in conjunction with World of Tanks, where you can use my code to be able to get some the potential of getting a spin on the website that they've just unveiled for the Golden Week. So I'd highly recommend you go and check that out as well. I'll leave a link in the pinned comment of the description where you can go ahead and do that. But thank you, and I'll see you in the next one, at least hopefully. Goodbye.